Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next YouTube video. This is going to be my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012, the Nickelodeon show, episode review. And today I'm going to be reviewing episode 23 of season 1, which is titled Parasitica. Now, the first thing to get into is wow, episode has taken a long time to air. Because after episode 22, the show did just take a completely unexpected break. You weren't told really when the next episode was going to air. The date for this episode to air changed from week to week, and I think 2 or 3 weeks ago it just no one knew when it was coming out at all. There were no rumors or anything, so it was a complete surprise that it actually aired this week. And myself, I don't even know where this episode aired, because supposedly it aired first only on Nickelodeon UK and Ireland. But it was mislabeled as a different episode, so not many people even saw that. And I think people then caught on to the repeat, and that's why it's up online. That's how I saw it. But I think it says so much that Nick UK, I think, only just revealed a day or two ago that it's actually going to air next week on Nick America, and no one knew that there was a new episode coming this week in the UK. So I've no clue what either are doing. Is the UK getting the final 3 episodes weekly in a row from now on, or what? I just don't know. But either way, it just shows that Nick are doing some really bad stuff with regards to letting people know about this show and when new episodes are coming out. But I'll get into the episode now. Parasitica is a good episode. I think that's the first thing to get out of the way. It's not a bad episode. It's good in what it does. My problem with it is that as an episode 23 of 26, at a point in the season where we're quickly approaching the finale, we've had a lot of stuff set up going into the finale, and we're looking for more development. For this episode to basically go off on its own and have a really standalone episode that has nothing to do with those plots, I think is shocking that they've actually done this at this time. Now, the show's done this a few times, where I thought it's been gaining a ton of momentum, and then it's just lost some of that because they've done this kind of more standalone episode that doesn't mean as much to the plot. Now, I'm all for character development episodes. I like the fact that they finally got around to doing an episode, again, that focuses on Mikey being a bit more serious. This is really the Mikey can do stuff too kind of episode, and I like the concept behind the episode, but for it to happen at this point in the series, why wasn't this done earlier on? Why did they, when all this stuff is happening, suddenly decide that now's the time to do this? Now's the time to have an episode where April's not in it, Splinter's not in it, Shredder's not in it, Karai's not in it, the Krang alive aren't in it, and just have an episode that focuses on the Turtles finding a mutant and a plot that doesn't seem to be going forward or mean anything going forward beyond the Turtles having a little bit more respect for Mikey, that sort of thing. So in that way it was why at this point did you do it? But I'll get into some of the details on the episode now, because as I said, it was a good episode. The idea of, I suppose, of them, the mutant wasps is the start of the episode. They find an abandoned Krang lag they've heard something about, so they obviously knew they were doing something there, and they find that they're experimenting on wasps and bees and that sort of thing. Then they discovered there's one mutant wasp, and now that brings up the question: what exactly were the Krang doing with wasps? Why were they experimenting on wasps in the first place? We know they've been testing their different mutagen formulas on animals and that sort of thing to get the right formula that works for them, because the physics work differently on Earth than in their own dimension. That I can kind of get into it from there, but why wasps? Why suddenly now are they doing this thing with the experimenting on parasitic wasps that apparently are real? I didn't even know this, but supposedly they're real. I don't know. So I'm not sure why they were doing that, but either way, it's a plot device. It's a plot device to make this episode happen, and I like what it did. I like what this plot device did in that you had Mikey basically put into a position where he's on his own for the most part and is asked to do something. you're put into a really dramatic episode with regards to how all these amazing characters that suddenly become evil, infected by these wasps. But again, linking into the plot, it just wasn't there. Like, why suddenly now do this? What is the details of the Krang experimenting on wasps? But anyway, getting away from that. What it did was, obviously Leo got stung first, and I thought you got some really good acting out of Leo's voice actor here, with regards to him suddenly acting very different once he got stung, being hyper protective over that wasp egg, and that was interesting throughout the whole thing. That you have this kind of hive mind kind of thing around protecting the egg and allowing it to hatch, and then once the thing hatches, it'll eat them because they're so obsessed with protecting the egg that it'll just allow themselves to be eaten. That was interesting. That was the interesting concept behind this episode, and I liked how it just went like that. It wasn't just that all three of the other turtles were infected and Mikey had to fight them all. It was Leo got infected first, and then Raph, trying to snap Leo out of it, got himself infected, and then Donnie eventually got himself infected, and then there was a bit of a surprise when Mikey himself got infected and then had to cure himself as well. But that's fine. But from there you get into the main. There's not really a whole lot to this episode, but that's one of the things for, like, okay, that's why, like, I feel like I can't really say much more other than cover the ending and how it happened. But I'll talk more about that near the end. Obviously the ending comes into play when it's just Donnie and Mikey left. They're trying to hide from Raph and Leo. Donnie decides that, okay, I'm going to uses a sample of Leo's blood to formulate a antidote for this thing. And he does that. He basically makes it, but can't prepare it. He makes the formula itself, and all Mikey has to do is incubate it and put it in a centrifuge for a few minutes. And this is when he changes completely. And Mikey gets bitten. And that was a shock. That was a shock that Mikey just got bitten there and collapsed on the ground. But it was a bit different in that, obviously it set up the funny moment of Mikey just completely passed out because he was a bit scared that he'd just been bitten. That was kind of funny. Then he said, like, oh, I passed out like 19 times. And that was funny, the way they showed that scene. And rather than him being really serious trying to do that, he was just passing out all the time, waking up, doing a little bit, passing out, waking up. And, just outsmarting the kind of zombie horde, the other turtles, by just being stupid in a way. And obviously he then cures it, he cures himself. And then what Mikey really does well here, I think, is the acting to get close enough to the other turtles to give them the antidote. That was really well done. And that you could tell he was acting because there was only a little bit of the kind of goo in the mouth, around his mouth. That was cleverly done, and then he just walks up to them and boom, 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 they're cured. And it did give them a moment of, like, oh, Mikey helped? Mikey did something serious for once? And then he explains his story, and they kind of like, oh, he did it in his own way, and yeah, that's great. That cured it. Then there was the big fight at the end, which, because it was against wasps, it was a bit... The fight was just there for me. It wasn't that amazing. It was pretty brutal, I think, the way the fight ended, and Mikey with the shell razor, like, making them explode with the cannon on the shell razor. That was a bit like, whoa, that's a little bit dark, but it made sense for it to be the way to end the fight. But again, I think I have to say this, all these turtles have these really cool weapons. Like, I get that maybe Mikey, without using the knife part of his nunchucks, and Donatello maybe can't harm them that much. But Leo and Raph, with their bladed, kind of pointy weapons, can't touch these wasps. That was a bit like, okay, I get you can't just have them chopping up wasps, but if you can make them explode, why can't you do something with them? It was just in terms of how powerful they made the wasps and how weak in comparison they made the turtles when they're fighting them. These are the turtles who put up a reasonable fight against Shredder and all these other mutant and they struggle against wasps. That was a bit hard to take, I suppose. But the end of the episode then is the turtles obviously say that, yeah, Mikey, you did well, but then they just kind of like make fun of him again because of some of the weird stuff he did earlier on in the episode, like using Leo's comic book as kind of toilet paper thing, and they just kind of ended the episode with, oh, Mikey's a bit more responsible, kind of able than you initially thought, but he's still a bit of an idiot. So they kept his character, but let him develop little bit, and I like that. I like that they developed Mikey for the first time in a while. But really, we've only had, I think it was episode 4 with the Chris Bradford episode, that they really developed him in any way seriously. So I'm glad that they did it here. But again, it comes back to the fact that this episode is good if it was, say, episode like 12, 14, somewhere in the middle. But coming here after they've set up a lot of stuff with April, Karai, the Krang, Shredder, and the Turtles, it makes it just completely misplaced, I think, in the season. That it came here, they took a break, that they reference April and Shredder as just being out of the episode. That was kind of just his way, like, hey fans, we know you're really interested in the April story. She's away for this episode. And you're just like, oh, okay. That's the thing. This show, at this point in time, the Turtles aren't really the main characters anymore in terms of the plot. I think that's the best way to say it. In that, I'm more interested about April, what April's about at this point in time than the Turtles, because the Turtles, in terms of the plot, are basically helping Shredder, helping Splinter to fight Shredder. But the main plot really is revolved around April and her father and what the Krang are doing. And so, the Turtles obviously are going to be the main heroes. But you need to develop April. You need to have April present in the episode a bit more. And mainly with April, they've done this, where she hasn't been in an episode for a while, comes back, is the most interesting character, and then leaves again. And I just hope they get back to more plot-focused stuff next week, and then I assume there's going to be a 2 or 3 part finale, so the next episode may be like on standalone, and then the 2-part finale. But I hope they get a bit more plot focused to end this season on a high. I don't really have much else to say, and I think that's one of the big problems with this episode, in that there's just one plot. It focuses completely on Mikey dealing with the wasps infecting his brothers. That's all there is to the episode, and there's the interesting thing at the start and how they're affected, the Krang working on them. There's how the Turtles are infected, and there's how they ultimately resolve it in the end. That's all there is to this episode. It's very basic, to the point, and as I said, it's good, just wrong, in my opinion, badly placed in the season. So thanks for watching this review. I'll get the other reviews out whenever the episodes air, which may or not be next week, maybe the week after that, who knows. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and bye.